Here to have a conversation this morning about what's different about an innovative small business and how the tax code can help make small business innovators' lives easier, help lead to more innovation, more job creation, more economic development throughout the United States and beyond.
A lot of our companies are startups, innovators. They are essentially prepared to innovate for the United States. These are jobs in the U.S. and manufacturing in the U.S. Most of them have started with grants from Department of Defense, Department of Energy. They've done pilot projects, and then they slam into the valley of death because what they really need is investors to come to the table for long-term investment. And so they're looking at how do we spur this investment and drive down risk? And some of these proposals are going to really help do that.
From our perspective, we've invested quite a bit of money in this technology pre-revenue, and now the next step is to find additional investment to take this into the clinic and go after some very important cancer targets. So it's very different because either in big company R&D or in a mom and pop shop, you're not usually in a situation where you're actually investing money and not having any return for 5, 10, 15 years.
Because with a typical small business that has a widget or a service to sell, the innovation's been done. There is something that they're selling that's already in the marketplace and has already gone through the development cycle. What we're talking about is intellectual property that's developed here in the United States that can create jobs here in the U.S. that we could, at least in the energy storage side, could easily lose it to other countries that are really putting a lot of funding into developing and investing. And innovators have a very different cycle of development than a typical small business that would have something already innovated that they're trying to sell.
It's totally different. I mean, the R&D side of the equation is we don't talk about P&Ls usually. We just talk about Ls.
I guess I would say I see a current problem with public policy is it focuses so much on the revenue-generating companies, and what members of Congress and other people don't realize is there's a lot of innovation occurring in this pre-revenue space of, the other panelists were talking about sometimes it's a 10, 12, or 15-year time horizon where these companies are refining their innovations, getting their ideas together, not making money, but they're actually producing stuff that is going to make money down the road. And so we need some public policies for those types of companies because that's where some of the real creativity is emerging now.
So the existing tax credit is helpful if you're paying taxes, which means you have to be making money. And innovative companies early in their cycle, they're not making money, and so there's no benefit of having the R&D tax credit. So it really doesn't help pre-revenue companies in my mind.
So your company, for example, is not able to take advantage of the R&D tax
No, because
credit?
we can't use the credit against our tax obligations.
Certainly with the pre-revenue companies, the tax code has enormous ramifications for those companies in terms of their ability to innovate. Making permanent the R&D tax credit is important, but that alone is not going to solve the problem. Like having tax reform that is pro-innovation is absolutely crucial for these small firms to do well in the future.
It's really a simple decision. I mean, if we want to maintain being a world leader in innovation and technology development, it's these types of things that if people were not innovating, we would not be able to see. And if Congress doesn't step in and adjust the tax situation, I mean, I think it's just not a good situation for long term.
Right. And if we don't invest as a country, someone else will. I mean, I would say China's just a few months behind us on the energy storage side, and we want to keep it here. We want to spur manufacturing here, and the only way we can do that is to support our innovators.
The bill we're talking about here is not around asking for grants. It's not about direct investment. It's about supporting the problem we're having is, and I think the problem in this sector is, we're trying to find investors to invest in our company. What we're trying to do is make it attractive for them to invest in, a company that's got a 15-year cycle before it turns positive, that's going after major issues, versus an alternative investment that an investor has for a new app that could be turned around in 6 months, and the return is attractive, and they'd rather divert their money to that. So I think what we're trying to do here is incentivize the investor to take the risk in investing in the companies.
Yeah, and this particular Startup Jobs and Innovation Act that creates these R&D partnerships is estimated to stimulate over $10 billion of investment and create 156,000 jobs or something. And then there are other things that you cannot even put a dollar figure on because they have such broad ability to, change the way we live.
These companies that, the real big companies in the biotech sector, the name brands, Amgen, Genentech, Genzyme, all these companies finance their projects through these R&D tax partnerships. So this is something that isn't an unproven idea. This is something that actually worked, and it worked very, very well, and was really the catalyst for our industry. And what we're trying to do is figuring out a way of bringing it back because it works so well.
I mean, I think these partnerships are vital, especially for these new emerging companies, just because it's the route by which they're able to finance their innovation. And with these small companies, it's like, they're so close to the edge that they need help. And when you look at what other countries are doing, they're very aggressive at promoting their innovation programs. So it's important, even though the United States still does very well on innovation, it's important that we do the investments that are going to allow these companies to continue to do that, because the competitive environment is very difficult when you look at what other countries are doing.
And what this opportunity is for something that applies across a wide range of fields to all innovation. The associations that are members of CSBI that I'm involved with range from manufacturing to renewable fuels to space to nanotech to neurotechnology to water. And the idea that all of them could get a benefit from this kind of legislation is I think really intriguing from a international competitiveness standpoint.
The good news about the innovation space is there aren't too many policy areas that remain either nonpartisan or bipartisan, but innovation actually is, because it's a job creator. Everyone understands that innovation is highly correlated with long-term economic prosperity and job creation and having our economy do well and creating opportunities. So if there is an area where there's a possibility of breaking through the gridlock, this is certainly one of the areas.
What would you say to policymakers who are on the fence about whether to support this from a fiscal standpoint or just because they're concerned about sort of being out front on this?
The easy advice is they should just look at the numbers in terms of where the jobs are being created in this country, because it is small businesses, it's the emerging markets, that's where the innovation is taking place. When you look at the projections over the next decade of where the job growth is going to come, it's in these sectors. These are going to be, the real 21st century economic drivers. So for members of Congress who are on the fence, they should look within their own districts, they should look in their own states in terms of where the job growth is going to come and what they need to do in order to help facilitate that growth.
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone out there who would argue against job growth. I mean, it's that simple. Whatever party you're in, and I think, again, I think Doug mentioned it earlier. It's not like the tax reform is asking for money, a handout or anything. It's more of just how do you make it more accommodating to the people who are investing the money currently.
The problem we're having, small companies like Maxite, is we're trying to find investors, right? And there's a lot of us out there. What this does, it actually opens up another class of investors that we currently don't have. So it's not just benefiting existing groups that are investing, but catalyzing doctors and lawyers and healthcare professionals who have some passion around a particular area that want to invest in a device company or want to invest in a biopharmaceutical company. That's what this will do. We believe it will help. I believe it's going to help us open up new sources of capital for our companies and bring in new investors that just aren't there today and that would rather go into an app, again, because there's no real benefit. The risk in that is much lower. The payback is much quicker. If we can figure out a way of incentivizing that same money to be directed toward more innovative, bigger problems, which this does, it opens up again more areas of capital to go into the industry.
On the losses side, from our point of view, losses have value, as Doug mentioned. It's just when do you realize that value? So if there's an opportunity to realize the value sooner, I think you do bring in a different investor class, because right now, from a venture point of view, we acknowledge and accept that we're going to have the losses, and hopefully there's going to be a payout later. That's what we do. There is another group of investors, though, who might be able to take advantage of that lost value right now, but they can't. So I think it brings in a whole new group of people who would jump into the game and then actually continue to spur additional investment.
In the first 5 or 7 years of my company's existence, I did nothing but raise money. I mean, that's all I did. I spent, well, almost everything I did was raising money, because it's the oxygen. It allows us to do anything at that point. So from my perspective, that is the number one issue. If we can figure out a way of maintaining oxygen in these companies, we have a chance of solving a lot of big problems.
The Coalition for Small Business Innovators is a coalition that's made up of associations that are made up of companies that are made up of people that are trying to change the world. And it's hard to change the world. And what we're trying to do is find ways to unlock the private investment that will make that easier, that will make it easier to improve people's lives and to create jobs and really to make a difference. And we thank you for your time, your patience, your questions today. Happy to follow up on any detailed questions that you still have. And thank you again for coming.